Hey family, and we're back. Just gonna wait for Danai to jump back on, and we'll keep the conversation going. Oh man, like it hurts that we miss out on so many of the questions. Hey Wanda, welcome back. And the comments. Insta needs to do something about this 1 hour limit. It really does. This is not cool. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back, welcome back, family. D, where you at? Oh, there's someone here by the name of Queen Goldilocks. I think I'm just gonna block this because this looks like a troll. Like I'm not really. You've been so mean to me the last couple of days, Queen Goldilocks. Oh man. Welcome back, D. Welcome back. Uh,
Blocker, blocker.
She's been trying to lights out of me, yo.
Nah, she said I can't get rid of my Mercedes. I'm like, I'm not mad at you, Goldilocks, but I'm gonna share a little bit more on that too. But back to that story, I was saying that there was a gentleman, and I'll just make up what his rent was, but he's walking around his apartment and he lives in a penthouse. And so he's just like, you guys, they're kicking me out of my penthouse. And let's say the rent is $5,000 a month, right? So he's like, I've been here for 10 years. I've never been late on my rent. I've been an amazing tenant. I love this place. I've had, family times here and all kinds of things here. And I don't know, maybe celebrated holidays. And he's like, all of a sudden, because they own the place, they just decided, they're kicking me out of my place. And he was like, and so I'm tallying up the rent, 50,000. 5,000 a month for a year is $60,000. 60,000 by 10 years is $600,000. You bought a house. You bought a house in Seattle, in LA, in New York. You can afford a house for $600,000, particularly 10 years ago. Particularly if you had been wise enough to not listen to what the markets were doing when the market crashed in 2007. If you would have bought in 08, 09, 10, 11, anywhere in there, America was on sale. You could have gotten that $600,000 property for $300,000. And they wouldn't have asked you to come out of all of that money immediately. And your mortgage would not have been $5,000 a month. Are you all starting to hear what I'm telling you? He'd be done. He'd be done. He would have his home and he would be done. He no longer has a mortgage. Now all he has to pay is property taxes. Property taxes are probably going to be 10 grand a year. You clearly have that. You're paying $5,000 a month. You're done. You can invest in a bunch of other stuff. I'm just saying we don't think that way. I'm saying all we're thinking is I want to floss, and that's great. You rented out a great space, helped somebody else to pay off $600,000 of their mortgage. You now have to start all over from scratch and go find something. I pray to God he did not find another penthouse and rent it out. I pray that is not the lesson that he learned.
I just want to. Knowledge really is power. What's really killing us as a people is our lack of knowledge.
Absolutely.
It's really killing us. I love this one story I read about an anomaly, like a brother who found some loophole in property law and went and occupied a home that had been abandoned for. You saw that?
No, you can do it. There's squatter laws. You can totally do it. People have done it in mansions. They've done it in all kinds of stuff.
You did it in a mansion, and the neighborhood is up in arms because like they don't want this kind around there. But he's on something like,
they can't kick him out because legally he followed the law.
They can't, So like that's an extreme case, but
it is an extreme case.
Like Danai was saying, like there are so many different avenues that we have at our disposal to acquire property. Like there are auctions, private auctions,
wholesaling, tax auctions, landlording, purchasing multi-unit properties and living in one of the units while everybody else is paying your rent for you, so you're living for free.
There are
and
so
they're paying your freaking property off at the same time. So you're living for free while other people are paying what's going to be like for your retirement, what's going to feed you later.
If anyone on the live right now has never read Rich Dad Poor Dad, get that book. Get that book just for a basic understanding of property and what it can do for you. You know, because I like the way Kiyosaki just breaks it down like to layman's terms. Read that book. My daughter's reading it
Listen,
right
Hair to
now.
Please said not everyone has good credit. That's part of the reason they are renting. I have said 12,000 times. Now I'm gonna give you a little bit. I'm just going to give you this. I'm going to be generous tonight. I'm not always generous. I'm just going to be generous right now and tell you, if you don't have the credit, partner with someone else who does and purchase the property that way. I'm telling you, get in by any means necessary. And y'all can't tell me Black people are not resourceful. When we want something, we will find, we'll go through the door, through the crack in the cranny, through the freaking chimney. We'll go through the what is this? Through the fan in the ceiling. We will do anything. The problem is we do it for stuff that does not garner us the benefits that we need. And we do it for dumb stuff that's like illegal. I'm saying take that same passion and find out. I literally am telling you there are 20,000 different ways to do this. There's no excuse. You can do it. Credit isn't even. So now, what are the number one reasons you're not owning? I don't have the credit. I just took that away. What else? I don't have the money. I took that away. You don't need the money. You really do not even need the money. Like that's the crazy part. I'm not going to break that down for you. But I will say, I already said in the previous video, I got with your down payment and your closing costs. Now what? Move somebody in there. There's the rent. Everything else is bundled into the rent. Charge them a little bit higher than what that is and take $100 for yourself, put it in your pocket. You got a property. Do it again. Ad infinitum. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going.
Even if you make a loss in the first couple of years, even if the rent doesn't quite cover the mortgage fees,
still worth it. Even if you don't get that $100 and put it in your pocket, and there's no $100, you just break even. Still worth it. Still worth it. And again, think of it like, okay, I could buy a pair of Jordans that are $200 and I'm super fly, but they're sitting there and in 10 years they're going to be worth nothing. Or I could put that extra 100 into this property and maybe that extra 100 is going above and beyond and going straight to the principal instead of the interest. And that $100 has multiplied and it might be worth 10,000 in that same amount of time. Same $100. What are you doing with it? It's just, what are you doing with it? Y'all ain't doing the right stuff with your money. That's all. Keep going. Right. Yeah. So we were talking about single income properties and how you can make this happen. Unless you want to say something right now, go for it, Kofi.
No, please continue.
Okay. So few more notes I made for myself. Single income families. Right. So plan to go down. First of all, plan. Pay off debts prior to children coming. Pay off a house prior to children coming. You know you can pay a house off in 5 years?
Yeah.
Google it. Google it. Create a budget and actually stick to it. Discipline. What I loved about what Kofi was saying initially is that the crazy part about all of this is when you start looking at all of the principles that you're going to have to be walking in and moving in and living in as a result of doing this, so much of it is biblical. And that's the reason why a lot of the communities where people are doing this in are already religious. Because they're following spiritual principles. It's, scripture has a lot that's just fundamentally order that will, if you do it the way that God tells you to do it, you will end up doing this anyway. So that's why you find a lot of these communities end up being religious, because they're practicing whatever it is. And the one accord even is that because they're under one principle and everybody is committed to that goal, right? So that's really important. You need to be equally yoked with whoever you're doing this with. You need to be on one accord, because you can be equally yoked and not be on one accord. You need to be on one accord. So while you all are courting, you need to be making sure that men in particular are talking about what their vision is for their life, and that they are interviewing their perspectives to make sure that this woman is someone who's on board with whatever your vision is for your life, because he's going to have to lead and she's going to have to follow. And if you got rebellion, it's not going to work. And I can honestly say a lot of men are not dating with this in mind. These are not conversations they're having.
I remember, there was a guy I knew who was dating, or who'd been seeing a woman for years. And ladies, you know, a lot of the time women will ask, why did this guy stay with me for so long and then leave me for someone else? Sometimes some of these guys give women the opportunity to get themselves together. And
So
they'll
it's
be
like
like,
grace and mercy with the Father.
you know what I'm
I'm not
saying?
going to punish you. I'm waiting for you to get it together. Yeah.
You know, I love you.
Look out from under you. Yeah.
And you'll try and be like, yo, babe, go do this course. Study investing. Buy that book, read that book, boom, boom. And she just
Listen
keeps
to
coming
this
up with
podcast.
reasons
Yeah.
to do it, you know, blah, blah. But when it's fun times, she's there front and center. At some point, he's going to realize I don't have a lot of time left. There's certain goals I'm trying to achieve. And as much as I care about you, I just cannot commit to you indefinitely, because you're going to destroy me. You have to go. It's over. You know, so that, like, I know lots of guys, and I've been one of those guys. Who cares for this woman? He really cares for her and wants the best for her. She doesn't see it. She was told a relationship is all fun and games. It's all, you know, weekends away and all that kind of stuff. And she's not willing to do the work. And at some point, he's like, enough is enough. You have to go. Goodbye. Boom.
Yeah. No, you have to. If you're not building anything, it's not sustainable. And you can say what you want, but men know that. Every man has a vision for his family. Every godly man in particular, you know, the non-knuckleheads is what I'm saying. Any high-value man has a vision for his family. And so, you know, you really do need to know, are you keeping in step with that vision? And again, ladies, we're ribs, we're helpmeets. So are you going to help or are you going to hinder? And if you're going to hinder, then if he can find that out while he's dating you, yeah, that's not a wife. Why would he wife that? That's not even being mean. It's, and I love what you said about men will give a woman an opportunity. I've seen this. I have counseled people for whom the guy is like, Danai, I bought her the book. I sent her the podcast. I sent her the articles. I sent her
paid for the course.
I paid for a conference and sent her. She wouldn't even go. And I'm just, no offense, ladies, that's where I'm like, that's on y'all. I can't help you at that point. You're not even trying. And you really are treating the men like being sexy and cute that's going to do it for 50. No, not a man with vision. Not a high value man with vision who is trying to accomplish and achieve something for his family and something for the kingdom. No, you will not keep that.
You know, YB Vic, you know, it's not even stringing along. I'll tell you a problem many guys are having right now. Okay. There are guys who will meet a woman, high value guys, and they're like, this is my plan. This is my vision. Based on what I've learned about you. And, you know, during the interviewing process, a lot of these women lie and they act a good one. Okay. So it's not just the men who are problematic in this generation. The women are.
Everybody's lying. Everybody's lying. Facts.
So he's going to be on some, this is what I'm trying to achieve. She's like, no, I can help you with that. I'm on board with that. I want to be a part of that. Fine. 6 months into it. Okay. Maybe he's on some, he's a good dude, but I mean, you know, like he's still sleeping with her. And then he's on some like, but I don't even feel right sleeping with you because like there we work, but in everything else, we're not working. So I know guys who told the women, listen, like let's not even get physically intimate because it's going to cloud my thinking. The woman's like, no, 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 we're not going to stop that because she thinks in her mind, this is how she's controlling him. She thinks in
With
her
the
mind,
sex. Yeah.
this is how she's keeping him around. So it's not a case of him stringing her along. For some ladies, the only currency they have to operate with is the sex in their
Uh-oh.
minds. That's all. You do have a point when you ask, how is he a good dude if he said, you're right. You're right. But everybody's working towards, perfection. We're all working towards perfection. We all have our what do you call it? Our thorns in our sides.
Right.
Okay.
Everyone has weak points, weak spots.
Everybody has, for a lot of guys, it is sex. Okay. Yes.
Go ahead. Well, because I hear what you're saying and I hear what she's saying, and I really do hear what she's saying. I think what Kofi is trying to say is that because as a woman, what happens with us is if you're having sex with us and you don't want to be with us, we have an issue with that. And that does feel like using, and it does feel like stringing along. What Kofi is trying to say is there are men who are good who are saying, I don't want to have sex with you. And the woman keeps on enticing him to have sex with her. So at the point that you are enticing him to have sex with you because of what you want, you can't say he's not a good guy because you're throwing it at him. You know what I mean? It's not, in other words, this is where Kofi and I have bumped heads a lot in the past about where the responsibility lies when it does. In that space, I will say we got to own that. If you're throwing the cooch at him and he's like, wait, like, we need to calm down. We need to like get our life in order. We need to figure out if we even can do a relationship, and we need to start thinking about the things of the relationship, and you're freaking out, honestly, then we need to take ownership of that. If you're freaking out because you're like, wait, I'm not as good in these other areas as I am in this sex thing, and you're thinking the sex thing is what you have, and so that's what you're capitalizing on in order to keep him hooked. There's a little bit of manipulation there. That's a little bit of manipulation. We got to own that. You know what I mean? I'm saying, but if a man went into it knowing good and well he didn't want a relationship with you and all he wanted was sex from you, and then he's stringing you along and making you think he wants something or dangling it like, oh, one day and whatever, and the whole time he's extracting resources from you, including sex and whatever else it is you have to give, that is completely wrong on his part. Totally. You know what I mean? But I'm saying absolutely there's manipulation on both sides, but I think what he was trying to say is there are men who are trying their best, and sex is their weakness, and let's be honest, some women know that and take advantage. And I'm not letting the guys off the hook. Like I said, the guy has to take responsibility for himself too, because a lot of those guys will end up in that situation and they're like, how am I in this situation? I'm like, Negro, you laid down. Come on. So I'm just saying both. Yes.
I just want to add to that. Paul was very clear. He was like, if you're burning with lust, get married. Now there are men who will then say, okay, fine, this is a good dude, and he'll say, all right, fine, I see us getting married within 6 months, and then the woman's like, no, that's too soon, and he's on something like, what? No, that's too soon. Let's give it a few years at least. Like, what are we waiting for?
Yeah. Can I tell you how many great men, and I'll say this for YB Vic, how many great men I've heard literally come to me with the story that Kofi just said. And part of it is because they know they don't want to dishonor the woman. They don't want to fall. They are sexually attracted to her. They know they're going to fall. And then a bunch of other stuff ends up happening. Oh, if I'm picking on you, I don't mean to pick on you. You know you're always welcome here. I love you, Yvette. I love you. You know I love you. But I'm saying, yes, I literally have heard people say what Kofi is trying to say. I'm just trying to co-sign him. I'm not trying to gang up on you. You know I love you, Yvette. Go ahead, Kofi.
It's and she's right. She's right. As a man, you can't say that you're good. That's why I said he's trying to be good.
Right. That's what I was trying to go into too, where I'm just like, I'm genuinely trying to be good, but I also have a weakness. And the truth is I'm doing my best to show up and present what it is that I want, and it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm always going to be strong enough to turn it down. And to that, I would say, again, ladies, here's you can't manipulate your way into like heaven. It doesn't work that way. And so, and notice I didn't say, you
I
know,
thought
you
so.
can't get a guy. What? What'd you say?
It's just because of what he
Oh, okay,
said.
you got it for
Yeah,
yesterday. I see that.
I'm not disagreeing with you with that. I'm just saying, like, please understand the context.
Holistically,
Yeah.
I think, I think this. I think, you know, I lost my train of thought. I lost my train of thought. But I'm just going to say you can't manipulate your way into a great relationship. It doesn't work that way. And so whether you're a guy or a girl, those chickens always come home to roost. You reap what you sow. God is not mocked. And so whether it's a guy or a girl, but I'm also saying we all have weaknesses. And so we know what each other's weaknesses are too. And there are those among us who also, what's the word, target people for their weaknesses and try to manipulate that portion of them to hang on to the relationship that they want. And I've talked a lot about this in my live streams, and I say there are 3 ways to negotiate. You can negotiate in love, which most people don't and is the only healthy way to do it. But most people intimidate or seduce. Men tend to intimidate, women tend to seduce. It's the opposite sides of the same coin. We do it in our own ways because it works. But the truth is, if you either seduce someone into giving you what you want or you intimidate them into giving you what you want, at the end of the day, that has a short lifespan because no one's going to go, it's not sustainable. No one's going to go on being manipulated or intimidated for the rest of their life. Like nobody wants to do that. So it's not a sustainable model. So then each of us has to learn how to negotiate in love. And I'm saying what I was hearing, sorry to put that back onto what you were saying, was a guy who was saying I'm weak, but also trying to negotiate in love. And the woman's like, no, let me seduce you.
Yeah. You know, Onyx Diva,
if he falls, it's still his fault. But let's stop pretending that the woman didn't seduce him.
Yeah. The duration, look, I mean, different people have different levels of risk, I guess, appetite, and also what you stand to lose also needs to be considered. But at the same time, you need to consider what you stand to gain. Far too often, we let our risk aversion get in the way of us building something with somebody. But we need to be, you know, like we're never told to focus on what we stand to lose. We're always told to focus on what we stand to gain. Keep your eyes fixed on the mark of the high call, for example. Keep your eyes on the crown that you will receive, on the prize you will receive, on your reward. That's what we're supposed to be looking at. So if you find somebody that you know, based on character, based on fruit of the spirit, because like, you know, within 6 months, it's very easy to tell, you know, if somebody's operating in flesh or fruit. This does not mean, or spirit. It does not mean that they're going to be perfect.
Right.
But you can see that they're making an effort to better themselves or not. There's some guys who, for example, will enter into the relationship also like, oh, sex is definitely on the table. And then after 2-3 months, he's like, wait a minute, no, actually, this is ungodly. Okay, you know what? I'm going to start working towards, you know, a more godly approach to this relationship. Then you can see, this person is operating in spirit. Then you get the ones who come out with the whole like, Thessalonians, verse 300 and where, you know, and then a month, 2 months into the relationship, you get to see their true colors. You know, now you just sit back and be also, whoa, okay. It differs from person to person, but if you're judging based on biblical principles, it's very easy to pick up whether this person is suited for you or not suited for you. What tends to complicate things is emotions, feelings, affections, and sex. Lust.
Agreed. And I would also say, and I would also argue, you know, how do I do this? Engagements don't have to be long. They could be just as long as it takes to plan a wedding.
Yes. Yeah.
We don't think that way in the West, but that's the truth. That's the truth.
And it's changing down here too, because nowadays, African women, you meet them and it's like, no, I'm a career woman, I'm this, I'm that. But what does that have to do with anything?
Right.
If we're working towards building something
Right.
together,
Right.
you know, then there's no more individual. It's now
Right.
us.
It's we. It's not
Yeah.
I and I, it's we.
It's
Yeah.
we. How do we take your plans and my plans, incorporate them, and work
For sure.
towards the vision together?
Yeah.
If you're still holding on to like me, and
Right,
I'm
right,
doing
right.
this,
Everything I did and I. That's the reason why we've had these wonderful conversations. We had one with George where all we were talking about was should a woman take her man's name, and if she doesn't, what does that mean? And if she doesn't, why doesn't she? I think I might repost that next month because I feel like the last time I did that was like a year ago. So I'm like, yeah,
mm,
this is a good time to repost it. But so many of the responses were responses that there was a time in my life where I would have probably feminist me would have been like, yeah, I get that, I get that. But again, going back to biblical principles and foundationally, if this concept is one that is biblical and that's, what we're trying to do in order to walk it out successfully, then covering is something that most Western women don't understand anything
mm,
about. They don't know anything about covering. They don't understand adoption. They don't understand what a father is. They don't understand that they live like all of this stuff doesn't understand. But at the same time, they want all of the benefits of it while
mm-hmm.
rejecting it at its core. And if the husband says, and it's so funny because there's like no place for the husband to appear. Like, where will the husband appear? Nowhere. If the husband has the balls to somehow figure out where to appear,
Mm.
anything he says is seen as you are backward, you are domineering, you're trying to control me, you're a sexist, you're a misogynist, I'm not under what's that's patriarchy, and it's all of this stuff that it literally has nothing to do with, which honestly breaks my heart because I used to be one of the main ones on the line screaming all that nonsense, which again goes back to what are they feeding you versus what are you taking the time to learn on your own. And what I've learned on my own is men need respect in order to feel loved. There are so many different things that we do that are fundamentally disrespectful without even realizing it to our kings. And one of those things is refusing. And yes, many of the women violently and vehemently disagreed. And, for everybody, it wasn't that. But for a lot of them, it was. And to that, I would be like, where is this violence coming from? Where is this rebellion coming from? Where is this violent? And it's that. A lot of them, it was, well, I got my degree without him. I know, but you're with him now. So do you want to be
Yeah,
without him or do you want
yeah.
to be with him? And then for some, it was, I'm the last one in my family with this name.
Mm-hmm.
Or it was, my daddy paid for my degree. I'm aware of that, but are you going to live with your daddy?
Marry
Are you
daddy then.
marrying your daddy?
Marry daddy.
I mean,
Shoot.
I'm like, they didn't. And here's what I'll say to sum all this up, because I've gone off on tangent. Fundamentally, they only thought about the woman. They never thought about the man. Like, it never occurred to them. And when you get into all this domineering, misogynistic, blah, 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 patriarchy, yada, 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 the assumption is always all this negative stuff about pride and ego of a man. They never actually think about the fact that it might actually hurt him.
Mm.
Like, what if it just hurt his feelings?
Mm.
Would that be enough for you to change your mind if you knew that something that you were doing was going to hurt your man and make him feel a lot of different things that I'm not going to bring up? But for me, if we love people, we want to make them happy. And no, that doesn't mean you erase yourself. That's not what I'm talking about. But I'm saying there are a lot of compromises that it literally costs us nothing. And not only costs us nothing is the first part, but the second part would genuinely bless that other person and solidify the union of him beginning to think of you as his own, which is so funny. You call those things that be not as though they are, and you have the power of life and death in the tongue. And what you call it, it becomes. So are you Mrs. Him? Are you Mrs. You? And I'm like, you don't even realize in your language is the molding together of the two of you, or the two separate entities. I'm done.
Can I jump in? Let's take this all the way back to God. In God's economy, there's one provider. There's one income. God chose Israel as his peculiar nation, his peculiar people. The word peculiar means exclusively belonging to. That's what it means. The modern interpretation is strange, different. But in the world's economy, if you are peculiar, of course you are strange. So what Danai is talking about is 100% on point. Because when women like Dee talk about I'm his woman, they're like, that's alien to us because I'm my own person. And then when you start talking about
me,
yeah, you don't own me. But you actually do.
I know. I was, and it's a good thing, ladies. It's actually, you want him
You
to
don't
own
do.
you. You actually do.
This is where you belong. So God says, you, Israel, belong with me. I'm your husband. I will provide for you.
Yeah.
And this is why he kept telling Israel, I want you to be my glory, because you're my peculiar people. When I perform a miracle, like the way I took you out of Egypt, that was my glory. Everybody talks about the Elohim of Israel, the God of Israel, who did these things for them. Every husband wants to hear his wife talk about my husband who does these things for me, my Lord who does these things for me. Now, the moment we move away from that peculiar mindset and start thinking, I'm my own person, you are your own person, that relationship is doomed. You can't even be having conversations about single income.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of women have this concern of getting married, because it's like I have to give up my independence. And a lot have a fear of getting married and working from home because they're like, I have a fear of this man using the money to dominate me or to control me or to manipulate me. These are all fear-based reactions. And you can tell a person doesn't love themselves when they think like that. When you love yourself, you start looking at what is going to serve you. And you start looking for the markers that will help you identify a person who is going to serve you. And when you find that person, the conversation stops being about me and you. It starts becoming about we, like Danai was saying earlier.
Can
How do we?
I
Yes,
jump
jump
in
in.
there? Okay. No more I and I, it's we. The reason why I'm saying, just for anybody who just came in, hi, sweet girl, I see you. For anybody who just came in, the reason why I said you want him to own you, and I wasn't even going to go here. Kofi went there, so now I'm like, screw it, just jump in. I was trying to stay away because, like, a lot of times women, it's really hard to hear certain things. But we're here, so just break it down. You want him to own you because you want him to take ownership over you. This is the guy who is going to come and pick you up in the middle of the night when your car breaks down on the side of the freeway. If it's I and I, he's going to be like, okay, well, are you safe? Yeah. Okay, well, I'll stay on the phone with you while you call AAA. Yeah. That's I and I. That's independence. What I'm trying to say is there is something, okay, men are not women. Women are not men. There is something that kicks in on a guttural level, instinctively, intuitively, for a man when you take his name that says that's mine. And the reason you want to be his in that way is whatever happens to you happens to him. So there's so many women who are with guys, and you guys know I talk about women need to be cherished, men need to be respected. Part of the cherishing that you are going to get is because something clicked in his head that said, I own that.
Mm.
That is my responsibility. I have to take care of that. I have to protect it. I have to cover it. I have to provide for it. I have to, if something's going wrong, I got to fix it. I got to study it. That is my entire responsibility. I got to focus on it. I got to dote on it. I got to wash it. I got to cleanse it. I got to pay for it. I got to, you know what I mean? I got to protect it. I got to make sure that it is good. If that is not good, I am not good. And I'm saying, just the name alone, is that going to, necessarily undo that? Maybe not. But what I'm saying is there are 20,000 things that you all keep taking away from in this marriage thing, and you keep creating your own new stuff, and you don't realize everything God put there was for a reason. So again, when he says Mrs. So-and-so and Mrs. So-and-so is his name, he is literally speaking into existence every time he calls you by that name, or every time someone else calls you by that name. The fact that he is linked to you eternally, cannot get away, and there's a job that he has to do as a direct responsibility of that linking. And this is why you can't get this from baby daddy, and you can't get it from boyfriend.
You can't. The biggest lie in society right now is when boyfriend and girlfriend, for example, are staying together and getting certain benefits of marriage, and it lulls people into a false sense of security and belonging, and you get a
Till
rude
something
awakening.
happens, but go ahead.
Yep. You get a rude awakening when things end and you realize I actually have no legal recourse, I have no moral recourse, I have no communal support, nothing, because this was an I and I thing. It wasn't a we thing. It
Let's
was
just
never
see
a
how
we
this
thing.
goes.
If it was a we thing, the families would have been involved. If it was a we thing, God would have been involved.
Mm-hmm.
But because you're all trying to prove your independence and everything, men and women, you
Mm-hmm.
know, this is a seriously prideful generation.
How
You know,
single can I be while I'm with someone? I'm an individual.
you'll find
Okay,
out.
y'all can have that.
You'll find
Y'all
out.
can have it.
For the fellas, the greatest compliment a woman can pay you, that your wife can pay you, is to look to you like we look to God.
Mm.
That's the greatest compliment she can pay you. Like my flip. My friend's dad, um, single income home. He runs a business, and when he started dating the mom, he told her, "You're not working anymore." And she sat at home and raised the kids. He didn't even let her start a business. A couple of years ago, they were going through some hard times, and I could see the old man stressing. I mean, like he's in his 60s, I think, right now. 60s, yeah. And I see him stressing. Normally I walk into the house, like he's a strong stoic type, doesn't talk a lot unless I come around, then he starts trash talking me because he loves to pick on me. um,
Old school.
yeah, old school, but so full of wisdom when he does talk. And I can see him stressing and I'm feeling for him like, yo, man, like the old lady should be doing something though. I mean, surely she should be, like looking to, start something or like whatever. And then while I'm thinking that, she walks into the room because like he just walked out. She walks into the room. I'm like, is Papa okay? I call him Papa, and I call her Mama. And then she's like, yeah, he's okay. We're just going through some rough times and everything, but he's okay. And then she says some stuff that just shook me to the core. She's like, he's a man. He's my man. I know him. He's got this. We'll be okay. And she walks out of the room. So at first, I'm sitting there like,
She said,
oh, you're gonna put all this on him?
yeah, no, they get mad when I say it, and I try so hard to be respectful on the platform. They get mad when I'm like, man,
Queen, no, you can't.
there are certain things he won't even allow you to do. He won't
Like,
even allow you to do because he's a man and you are, remember it, ladies, his woman ownership, which
yeah.
y'all don't want. And you don't, when I say, you don't understand the parts of the fabric that you're keeping from coming together and bonding properly because in essence you're rejecting him or you're doing his job or you're rejecting some portion of the process or whatever, but it's like, no, he was built for this.
Yeah. Like
That's what we don't act like anymore. We act like, and there are a lot of guys who go, what, why wasn't his wife, yeah, not her
and that's how
job.
I felt.
He's a man. They hate me for saying it. They want to crucify me. What?
Emmy, don't laugh. Emmy, don't laugh. You know exactly what I'm talking about, Emmy. You know, you be Niger boy. You know exactly what I'm talking about, Emmy.
And
Emmy
the
knows
truth is,
exactly.
like, women pray for men like that. Women pray for men that they can actually count on, rely on to show up, to
Yeah.
do what they're supposed to do. Like, I will hold this down. Can you hold that down?
Look, like, Deep, you don't understand. When she said it, I was all up in my feelings like, oh, you just gonna put everything on him. Like,
No, I know because I deal with men on the platform all the time. And when I'm so glad that you had this beautiful story to share because if I say it, they come for me. What? See? And then they'll go into that's the reason why black women ain't got no. Calm all that down. Calm it down. Calm it completely down. Go ahead.
but here's the thing. Here's the thing. Like, afterwards, he comes to me
Mm-hmm.
when things got back to normal. He comes
Mm-hmm.
back to me. And then he's on some like, because like I remember like this was shortly after my divorce, and I was complaining. I was still bitter and angry and everything, and I'm on some like, yeah, well, I mean, I was married 'cause she wasn't being supportive and she wasn't doing this and she wasn't helping out with the money, and then like, flip, like the way Papa talks, so like he's got a toothpick in his mouth. He doesn't say much. You young boys are so soft. That hurt me worse than what Mama said.
Do you understand? Because that's all I'll be saying. I'll be in the midst of talking about it on the platform, and I'll be like, listen, masculinity is rooted and grounded in an instinct to cover for, provide for, protect one woman. Instinct. Instinct, y'all. Rooted, grounded in an instinct to cover for, provide for, protect one woman. And then I got all these men who are calling themselves masculine and who want to be thought of as masculine, who are also simultaneously like, well, what are you bringing to the table? And what is she going to do? And what's she going to pay for? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Sorry, you just identified yourself as non-masculine. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be mean. I'm not trying to be rude. I just told you what the definition was. You don't fit it.
And like, so every month, after church, because I started going to church with them for a while. After church, we go out to a restaurant, we eat, and like it's a big family. It's four kids and the grandkids, and then sometimes I and maybe someone else would tag along. Girlfriends or boyfriends would tag along and everything. And it's not like he was out there, you know, paying for random people's bill. But when he took his family out, no one dared take out their wallets. Nobody. You don't flipping take out your, like, he'd be insulted. I remember one time I tried to.
I was saying they're insulted when you
No.
even try. I'm saying
Nah.
this is so uncomfortable for me because, like I said, and all I'm thinking when the guys were like, well, what about blah blah blah? Well, she needs to pay too. Well, yeah, and I'm just like, you're a girl. You're a girl. I'm sorry. Or we'll say what Baba said. You're soft. They don't
You're
want to
soft.
hear that though. They want to be able to say, I'm hard.
No.
I'm a little short on the bill here. Can you help me with the
No. It's like once your name is on it, once your name, because like that was Papa's thing. Like my name is on that woman
Mm-hmm.
and those children.
Mm-hmm.
And Kofi, for as long as you're considered part of this family, my name is on you too.
Mm-hmm.
So you're under my covering.
Mm-hmm.
If you pull your wallet out again, I'll hurt you.
The family that I told you with the 50 houses has, same thing, adopted me in the same way. I'm with
Hmm.
them. I pay for nothing. Their father has always done that with me as well. Always see me as an extra daughter. And I'm like, there's nothing I wouldn't do for that family just for that protection, just for being under the covering of him.
Yeah.
Whenever I am with them, I'm an extension of their family.
Yeah.
And
Like,
what I would really like is for us to stop pretending like the breaking down of or muddling of or compromising of these sorts of principles doesn't have any effect foundationally on a woman honoring, respecting, looking up to, and admiring her husband or thinking of him as a man.
yeah. And her man, yo, like the way she said it, no, that's
Right,
my
right.
man.
My
I
man.
know him. The way she said it, I know him. I know him. He's got this. She just walked out. I'm like, yo, and like you feel this envy, like I wish somebody would talk that way about me too.
That part. That's
Like,
earned. That's earned. It's not given. And I'm saying there are a lot of, I've gotten on the guys. I'm just saying that there are a lot of guys out here who are wanting respect, but are not looking to earn it. They want you to just hand it over. And that level of respect, my friend, she can never hand that over. She will always be faking. She can pretend, she can flatter, she can seduce, she can pilot charm, charm, charm. That level of conviction that she had,
yeah,
you'll never have that.
yeah. And less than 2 months later, they were out of that
Of course
situation.
they were.
And in a
Part
in a
of that,
better state. In a better
part of the
space.
reason they were out of that situation, I would garner 9 times out of 10 is because her total faith in him too.
Yeah.
But
And
where
she
did
was
that faith come from? I know him. What does that
yes.
mean? He's reliable. He doesn't let me down. He doesn't make excuses. He finds a
Ever.
way.
Ever. 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 Like you know, and when I say he's a patriarch, all his kids stay in his home, except for the ones that are married.
Mm.
You know, and if you have kids outside of wedlock, they stay in their house too.
Mm-hmm. Everybody's
And
under grandpa's covering.
the ones that are like grandpa's covering, he's paying the grandkids fees. Whatever income his kids make, you take that, you flip it, and you grow wealth for your children. He's not complain. Yo, like, like that is a man among men. Like, there are levels to this man thing, fellas. You know, at the end of the day, we need to remember one thing: we are made in God's image. As men, we are made in His image, and when we talk about image, we're talking about the nature of His Spirit. So, if God is a provider, you are a provider. If God is a protector, you are a protector. That's what you were created to be. Now, your flesh may distract you and confuse you from time to time, but your spirit knows who you are. And you're supposed to conform the flesh to mirror the spirit.
Mm-hmm.
This is why so many of us are struggling nowadays, because we're going with the flesh and the spirit's trying to remind us, yo, dude, you're supposed to be a provider. You're supposed to be a protector. When you're providing for some random chicks and making it rain in the club, that's not provision. That's foolishness.
It's
When you're taking random
waste.
chicks out, it's waste. When you're taking random chicks out on dates and paying, that's not provision. Okay? But when you put your name on a woman and you understand this is my responsibility. And that's why, like Jesus even said, you know, a man who loves himself loves his wife.
Mm-hmm.
He will feed her like he feeds himself, because you're now one.
Mm-hmm.
God doesn't feed you because you are you. He
Mm-hmm.
feeds you because you are him. He's feeding himself when he feeds you. He's protecting himself when he protects you because he understands if anything happens to you outside of his covering or inside of his covering, his reputation is damaged. Because Satan's going to be on some, I managed to get under God's covering and hurt his people.
Mm-hmm.
But as a man, when you're like, I'm going to be the protector, anyone who's under your covering is protected.
That part should expect to be protected.
Nobody, like, people should think long and hard about harming anyone under your cover because they know I'm going to get hurt.
But I also want to say, and this is such a gorgeous conversation. I like where we are right now, but I also want to say that these are husband benefits. Like, these are husband benefits. These are wife benefits. This is stuff that you don't give away, to
anyone.
It's not accessible via outside of matrimony. Like, it just isn't. Unless the two are becoming one. This is the stuff that you don't get. And again, it never matters because this is the generation of we just want to do everything our own way. It doesn't matter until you come up against something where you need your man to show up and you find out you have, I don't know, a friend.
Mm-hmm.
Or this is a man, or this is, I don't even know, but it's always in those moments where you're like, whoa, like, I'm single.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, there are just a ton of different ways that can happen. But yeah, there are moments where that rude awakening comes out and it's like, yeah, I know. We've been together. We have children. We're living together. Whatever. We're combining incomes. We're doing it. And I'm single.
Mm-hmm. And fellas, the respect that you're so desperately craving, you can only get that through your wife.
I know.
Not through your girlfriend.
Yeah.
Not through your thing. Look, there is something very different. Like, when you show up in the company of movers and shakers with a girlfriend, be like, all right, okay, yeah, we see you. Nice. Dope. When you show up with your wife,
right,
there's a different response. I know what I'm talking about. I know what I'm talking about. I remember when I used to walk into a room with my wife, or like even without her, and be on some like, yes, I'm married. The respect I was accorded was different.
mm-hmm.
When you say I'm divorced, oh, you failed. Okay. like that's the vibe you pick up. Or when you say I'm not married, so I'm like, why? Are you lazy?
Are you lazy? I love that it became, are you trying to eschew your responsibilities?
Are you handling your responsibilities or not? Oh, you're not. Okay. So we have an idea of the kind of character you have. Or, oh, okay, fine. You're one of the selfish types. You don't want the responsibility. Okay, we see you. Oh, you're not willing to, play your part in that kind of set. Okay, fine. No, we see you. There are certain impressions that are created when you're of a certain age and you're not married.
Let me just say, Manjo Manem says a lot of women are married, but when it comes to providing protection and covering, they are single. Absolutely right. A lot of that is because everything in this society has taught them that that's okay. That being fully provided for, covered by, and protected by a man is antiquated. It's patriarchy. It's domineering. It's misogynistic. It's dated. It's traditional. It's old. We don't need that anymore. And that's why I keep saying women have thrown a lot of things out that they've either thrown it out, or a guy has come to them and he's been immature and he hasn't been in the space of understanding what it really is to be a man in terms of his responsibility for his woman. And that can happen a bunch of different ways. It could be because maybe he was raised by a single mom. Maybe he was raised in a divorced household. Maybe his dad, who was divorced, never healed the hurt in his heart. And so he passed down bitterness to his son. And so his son is just trying to survive instead of to thrive. And so what he had to offer the woman that he was with was this 50-50 nonsense that everybody's so proud of. It's not 50-50, it's 100-100, but both jobs are different. And so there are a lot of different reasons why people end up in situations like that, and there are a lot of people who will try to convince you that they're happy, not not being covered, protected, and provided for. It just
guys, listen. And if there are any other coaches on this live, they can attest to this, or psychologists or psychiatrists. A lot of the people that you see walking around acting all hard with their independence and their 50-50 are some of the most miserable people in private. Miserable. Because can you hear me?
we can hear you. Was that a call?
Yeah, it was a call, yeah.
Okay.
Understand something. If God gets fulfillment from providing and protecting.
Say that again. Just that. If God gets fulfillment from providing, keep going.
If he gets it from just that, and you are made in his image, and you are refusing to provide and protect, this is why you are miserable.
And depressed. And there are studies that show that men who withhold from their wives get cancer. They get all kinds of diseases that they can literally link diseases to it. And so going back to just that one sentence you said, if God gets pleasure from providing and man is made in God's image, why are you ladies entertaining guys that are showing up going, what are you bringing to the table? In other words, what are you planning on providing? Run.
Like, you don't, it doesn't even have to be giving to our wives. I've said it before, I have 2 daughters. When I walk out of the hair salon with them, I feel myself. You don't understand. I feel like, yes.
That's mine.
You see how good you're looking? I'm behind that. When, like, my oldest knows, like, she's a bit of a tomboy. You're not leaving the house if you don't look whipped. Because you're not going to go out there and misrepresent me. I'm doing my job.
That's
you get what I'm saying?
I taught you better than that. You're representing me. Her name is on, your name is on her.
My name is on her. You know what I'm saying? So like, then I was like, okay, whose property is this scruffy child over here? This one that looks like an orphan from oh, that's Kofi's child. Useless man. Look at you. You can't even afford to get yourself.
Useless man.
This kind of woman allowed you to even fertilize her womb. See your face. Idiot.
Idiot. I love it.
Like you get judged.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes people will just
walk in the street. What's really, really important is that care. That care. I'm trying to get the women to understand how much they receive from it and how much they give up as a result of not wanting to submit to it. The thing I'm looking at right now is the care. Think about how much Kofi cares. How much he cares about that which is his versus how much he wouldn't care if it wasn't his kid. And scripture even talks about that. It's not, I'm disciplining you because you're mine. If I never disciplined you, you'd be like an orphan, which I don't care about the neighbor's kids. I don't care. I care about what's mine. So I'm saying, what I'm trying to get the ladies to understand on this side is just there is a solidifying of the care that you can't get otherwise, that a lot of women are trying to go around this thing to get, and you can't get it. And then you wonder, why doesn't he care the way that he should? Because you didn't do it.
When you,
There's no shortcuts.
We need to stop this whole my type nonsense. Your type is a man who can provide,
yes,
who can protect, who can prophesy, who can instruct, who can teach, who can guide, who can love, who can that is your type.
Yeah.
And what you need to be honest about is this man someone I am suitable for.
Right.
That's all you need to figure out. am I can I help this guy achieve what? Because he's going to be giving me all this kind of stuff, and he's going to expect something in return. Can I
Right.
give it to him?
Right.
If I
Right. Can
look,
I
20
take it
seconds.
in, incubate it, and give it back? Are we done?
Yeah.
Did it? What is it? 20 seconds? What are we on? 2 minutes? Where are we?
Right. 17 seconds. I want to do 20 more minutes. What time is it? Is it 9 already? Do I have time? No, I don't have. No, 20 more minutes.